Welcome back to the show. I'm here with the man, Blake. You guys have definitely heard all the hype around Skool Games, Alex Hermosi, Sam Ovens. I'm sitting next to a guy who just won the Skool Games challenge for the first ever live month. And so what we're going to cover on this episode is all things about launching communities, scaling communities, keeping engagement high, destroying communities, and what actually goes into building a successful community so that if you too have a monetized community and you're trying to win Skool Games or really just grow and monetize, this episode is going to be very valuable for you. With that said, I'd like to introduce Blake. Blake, welcome to the show. It's a pleasure to have you on, man. And why don't you introduce yourself real quick, like share a little bit about the community you just built, and then we'll dive into how you won Skool Games.
Sure. So I think what people need to know is it's not overnight success with these communities. Not everybody is meant to be a community leader. And so sometimes you just have to partner with a character who can lead people, who can put their face out there. And the types of people that are attracted to communities are those who feel really isolated and alone and aren't able to get the types of connections in the real world. And so you're providing a real benefit to them. And a lot of people underplay this and they don't even charge a lot for it. And thus, that's part of the reason why communities die, but we can get into that later in the podcast. I just, can I share like my first?
Yeah, go for it. Why don't you share what the actual community was that you built?
Okay.
And then we'll dive into what actually generated the success there.
Sure. So in the online space, you have communities in every niche you could think of. For our niche, it was for sports content creators. And we were the first to do it. So there are people online who promote sports betting apps and who sell their picks for fantasy sports. And there's a formula to produce content that we cracked, and we just wanted to share that formula. But we also knew that people needed accountability throughout the process, and sharing wins within a community helps keep people motivated. So that is what we launched. We launched it February 1st, and within 30 days, we got to $50K a month in monthly recurring revenue. And we had 3 different price shifts occur. The early birds got in at a lower price, $200 a month, and then we raised it to $300 a month, and then now we're at $400 a month on the price points.
Wow, I really like that. So you mentioned something about innovation and being the first to do it, which is definitely what set your community apart. And then really just testing different price points, which I'd like to dive into because I imagine this wasn't a straight line shot from zero new community to all of a sudden becoming a Skool Games winner. So walk us through the journey through these 30 days. What were some of the major things that you guys had to dial in to really make sure that you guys came out on top?
So my background is in building sales teams, both on the phone and in DM. And whenever you're selling something that's lower ticket, such as a community, it's really inefficient to get on calls about it.
Right.
But you should also not just rely on automated webinars or you posting videos consistently.
Right.
You have to, as you develop and launch a new community, you're going to modify the offer as you go. And the best way to pick up intel on what you should add to your offer, what to make it more juicy, is to actually talk to your customers. Sounds crazy, right?
Right.
Do hand-to-hand
Most
combat.
people don't get it.
Yeah.
It's like they sit there doing mental gymnastics about what is the perfect offer. It's like, dude, why don't you talk to the people who are on the phone and have them develop your offer? So yeah, we'll carry on. That's really important.
And so what we did is we did an initial launch post, say, hey, we're looking for people to get, this one specific result over the next 90 days, over the next year. All right. We experimented with different angles, right? But point is, we got people to the DMs, and then we followed through with a DM sales process. And as you come to find out, when you do this, you get dozens, hundreds, sometimes thousands of DMs. So you need a team that you can train up on doing this. And eventually, the team, they need your help. They can't just do it themselves. So you hop in, you send voice notes if you are the guru, and you got to be in the trenches with them a couple hours a day. Eventually, they get good at it. And you could even have some pre-recorded videos and even voice notes that you can drop in there to help move them along the sales process. And if you're using an app like ManyChat, you can round robin. And so you get 500 leads that come through. You got 5 team members. It's split 100 each. And then they're all you following the same sales process. And there are some AI elements that you can use that I've been testing. But so far, we found to be the best model is hiring virtual assistants, ones that you can pay $4 to $6 an hour, plus a commission to on each of the sale. And we had it structured to where we only pay them for their first month, and then everything else is profit for us.
Got it. Yeah, that's
I
really,
covered a lot of points in that, but
no, that's really important because I think we're in a moment right now in time where things are changing, right? And so back in the day, you could put any direct response ad to the cold market and send them to call booking, get on a phone call and just hard close them because information wasn't very like out there to be sold. But now with so many people talking about similar things and they have the next best thing, I think we're going back to older days of like lead generation, capturing and nurturing and building a relationship. And it seems like you guys have cracked a really good code with using content, using personal touch points. And how did you guys honestly get to that idea? Like what were some of the issues that you've experienced either in this month or prior that led you to realize like, this is how we got to do sales moving forward in this space?
Well, it's when I was trying to run ads for one of my clients that I scaled from 20K to $1 million a month. I was trying to run ads for him initially and getting them to buy directly, experimented with different videos. And I just thought to myself, we have all these leads in our email list. We have all these phone numbers and there's people DMing us. What if I just send out a message that asks them a yes or no question if they're still interested? And then just actually talk to them from there. What do you know? Started to get some sales.
Right.
I'm like, wait a minute, I'm spending all day doing this. So I had a girlfriend at the time, you do it. And then I had a roommate at the time, can you do it? And then I remembered, oh wait, I'm paying this Filipino virtual assistant to do data scraping for me. Hey, can you do this? And his English sucked at first because he wasn't familiar with conversational American English, but eventually it gets better over time and you drill with them and you have them go back and forth with each other and they just get good. So that's whenever it just clicked for me and I realized, okay, I just paid $300 this week for this VA to make me $3,000. It's kind of the process that comes to your mind whenever you first get a advertising ROI. Like, I'll hold up, I just got a sale and I put $1 in, I got $10 back.
Right.
This is crazy.
Now you can just
grow it up.
Double down, right?
Yeah.
So it seems like a big win to win Skool Games was figuring out DM chat sales for those listening and finding ways to personalize your sales process, add in elements of personal touch through content, voice notes, things like that to move them along. I'd like to then move over to the next topic, which is actually community engagement. So we sell people, now they're in our community. A big problem that we face in the coaching community building space is it's very repetitive. It's very redundant. You show up to a community, you ask questions, you get value, you leave. And it's always just like, I get, and when I don't get, I don't show up. So have you guys found ways to build good culture, good engagement, where people are always excited and coming back for more and contributing to the growth?
Yeah, it's especially important if you're taking the monthly recurring route instead of just including community as part of like a coaching program.
Right, or like a lifetime or a pay in full.
Right. If you just have a monthly recurring, you got to really deliver every single month. And there's this cycle that you go through where people, they come in, they fall off, and you got to hit them back up, get them back in. And I believe on average, it's about 5 months. If somebody's paying you $100 a month, they last about 5 to 6 months before they drop off. And so you really need something that not only engages them and keeps them paying, but also sends them into the next offer that you have or prepares them for that next offer that you have. And one of the ways that we get the engagement, this is a tactic that anybody could use, regardless of their niche, is if there is a post within your community of somebody's specific issue, instead of just responding to that post and solving that person's problem and whoever else sees that, you need to make a Loom video, screen recording of you solving that problem in real time. And that could just look like you speaking for 20, 30 minutes on that issue. It could look like you going into various software applications or showing, where to go, or utilizing your curriculum library and saying, hey, if you go watch this video and in this part of the video, it explains in depth how you can overcome this issue, or you need to check out this app that we explained, and you go a little bit more in depth, and you're developing your product while keeping people in real time, and this same video could be published publicly for people to experience what it's like to receive valuable information from this community.
Right. Yeah, that's huge, and it's very underlooked because the thing about community is people center around common interests. They have common thought processes, common desires. And what a lot of people fail to realize is, like, if someone asks you this question, whether it's in a one-on-one chat or on a call, it's likely that 10 other people have the same question, right? And so it's like, why not either, if it's on a live call, record that, chop it up and put it in the, portal, or rather than just respond via text, like, use that as a content idea to add more to your program. And I think we too have done this as well because it allows you to build a better product real time, right? Versus pre-building and then going out to market and people have a bunch of unanswered questions. So,
yep.
What's another way that you guys have kept people on month to month without having drop-off rate? So you talked about, constantly releasing content, but what else has been important to keep people engaged with each other?
Well, backing all the way up to the to the origin of your coaching program or community, you have to know what is the journey, start to finish, and the estimated time for this journey at the different phases. And this matters more so depending on the gender as well. That we found that with male audiences, they're more open to spontaneity and not necessarily having a clear, defined timeline.
Right.
If you're working with female audiences, which over the past year I've been working with the predominantly female, non-financial audience,
Right.
and we found that they need a lot of certainty because they're less. This is talked about on a mastermind call I had, but they're less likely to want to expend energy, and that is more risky, and they expend more energy. And for female customers, they don't want that. They feel discomfort. Guys, the variety, it could actually be.
We can maneuver through it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we've experienced this actually with female clients as well, where you can't lead them down a road without them very clearly seeing where it is at end. And that's really important. It just comes back to, like, knowing your audience, knowing the transformation you're delivering, building a very streamlined customer journey, even a buyer's journey, and then a customer journey. I feel like this is kind of what you're getting at, is just really knowing who you serve, how to serve them best, and doing that as good as humanly possible. Ultimately, that's going to lead to growth inevitably, is what it seems like. And so let's flip from success then to lessons rather than what I call failures, like lessons. Maybe you've destroyed communities in the past, or you've built some and failed, or you've seen other people fail communities. What has been the most common things that happen that result to churn, member drop-off, lack of value, false promises, under-delivery, things like that?
So there's this global macroeconomic concept called brain drain. I believe that's the category it falls underneath. But it's whenever you, for example, in the United States, you have a great program where you'll pay for somebody's entire medical school if they pass the set of exams. And if they live in a third world country, they pass the exams, they can get flown over and get their entire tuition paid for.
Right.
Or maybe there's foundations that do this, that seek out talent from a small percentage of the different countries out there. But you're left with all the smart minds, all the people who are like born to do that type of work, now working in first world countries, and they don't have that support in the third world countries, and they don't actually go back. So as it relates to groups, is a mistake that we made was we would take, for the stock market community, for example, you have people who have $10,000 portfolios, six-figure portfolios, seven-figure portfolios. We thought it'd be a good idea to get all the six and seven-figure portfolio people and put them in a different section of the private group for them to communicate with each other.
Right.
And what this caused is they only wanted to communicate in that channel and not in the rest with the beginners.
Right.
So there wasn't like this all levels feeling, this
Yeah.
conversation. And the thing is, our 6 and 7 figure guys, it's not like they paid more for this channel. We just had that additional, we had a gate up, but there was actually not even like a payment that you had to make. So it's not like they paid for exclusivity,
Right.
but just by being that.
Which is a common understanding. And it's a request that we've seen in communities we've built as well, because you get to the top and you're like, how do I filter? And so obviously they want to know. And so it's common that if you've built a community, you've done things like that. How do you then reverse the incentive to where you sell them on why it's actually beneficial to stay communicating through the main channel where other people who are behind them can also learn rather than isolating them?
So you have to, some people are unconsciously competent, so they just do well because of who they are. You have to teach them what the method to mastery. And one of the elements to mastery, Robert Greene talks about this, is that you have to contribute and teach others along the way. Because if you can teach it, if you're good enough to teach it, that accelerates your not just progression to the next level, but also deepens your awareness of like your current
The
level.
knowledge, right.
So that is what you have to bring up to them and let them know is taking place as you're engaging with the community. You're not just engaging for the dopamine of the likes and the fact that, you know, people are saying, hey, you're doing a good job. It's so you can expand upon, and this is a writing assignment for you as a doctor, or somebody who's writing his doctorate thesis in something that they want to become proficient at. They have to break things down and even like teach other people if they want to have that doctor status, and reduces the amount of mistakes that those experts are going to make in their next level or even just to maintain.
Right.
Especially if you're talking about a space that is constantly evolving, such as like an Amazon coaching business or a trading education business or a social media marketing business. Things are constantly evolving. So the top guys actually, in a lot of cases, would learn from the smaller players because they don't have that experience. The small players don't have that experience, but that's where innovation could come from.
Right. You know, this is true because let's say you start at 10K a month and you're now at 100. In that timeline, let's say a year or two goes by, the guy at 10K a month now doesn't have the same playing field. It may be easier, it may be more difficult. So what worked when you were at 10K is different from what's working now at 10K. But it's possible you can learn from them one or two things that take you from 100 to 200 and vice versa. And I think it sounds like what you're saying is getting the audience bought in on, or getting the community members bought in on, hey, just because you're at the top of this pyramid, there's value in you giving back, because not only does it help the guys who are earlier on and keep this running, but it also helps you solidify the things that you've learned along the way. And there's possibility by you giving back and teaching, not only do you help members, but you also better understand what it is that you're applying, and maybe it takes your implementation of that knowledge to a whole new level. Does that seem about right?
For sure. And people invest into their community, they invest in themselves. They want to become a master at the topic, or at least good enough to get the results, but also to maintain it. Now, how do you maintain it once you get there? How do you make sure you don't fall off?
Right.
And if they've never had that experience of falling off after being really good at something or losing momentum, that's part of your coaching to them, is you got to tell them, like, you got to stay engaged and not get comfortable with it in this work.
Yeah.
You have to constantly do the work.
And so for those listening who build communities, where do you see the vision of community building going? Like, what comes next now? You've won Skool Games, you've built communities to millions of dollars a month. Like, what comes next for you in the community building space? How are you innovating?
Right. So I want to harness the personal growth, like the standard personal growth models, changing people's energy, changing their belief structures. Because I've invested most of my money in coaching and workshops over the past 3 years have been in meditation workshops, learning the science of the mind and how beliefs shape our personal reality. So if I understand that that is the root it would make sense if I'm in any program to install, like, it doesn't matter what tactics are being covered, install some type of fundamental operating system that is discussed at the onset of the group launching, or even on a consistent, like, weekly basis. So,
Right.
in implementing this within group calls with new members, what does that look like in action? That looks like sitting with people on a Zoom call and actually writing down their goals, but also all the things that they're doing right now that is antithetical to them hitting their goals.
Right.
And just becoming aware of that, and even doing exercise that could be breath work, that could be a guided meditation. Maybe you bring on an expert that has authority, because you got people who've never done breath work before.
Right.
And it's like, oh, this is all woo-woo. But whenever you bring somebody on, it's like, yeah, he's coached this billionaire, that guy.
Right. There's a reason the top guys have these types of coaches.
Mhm.
I think that's a really good point, though, because a lot of us successful entrepreneurs, we invest into these things.
Yeah.
But where we go wrong is when we go teach information on a specific expertise, why do we leave out what we deem as one of the most important things?
Mm-hmm.
Like when I wake up every morning, one of the most important things is my health, my fitness, my mind. So then why, let's say if I'm running an Amazon coaching offer, I forego teaching all of that and I just focus on the tactics. They miss the actual personal transformation. And for a lot of those listening who are on the same journey, we all know that it starts inside. We all know 99% of the work is mindset and beliefs. And so regardless of the information in the coaching program and tactics, it's like you already know that most of it starts in here. And if that's not incorporated into your community, you can't expect these guys to have any sort of transformation. And it's not their fault if they don't get results. We have the awareness that this is what matters more than anything. And so we got to find a way to bring that holistic, spiritual, personal development side of things into also this industry specific expertise.
Yeah, that was brilliantly said.
Yeah, and I think it's so true. Like we realized this when we were scaling companies in the trenches. For those who are listening and don't know, like we were in the trenches building companies day to day, building marketing teams, building sales teams, hiring people, firing people, building culture. And when you're working directly with the CEO, they're always looking to us for answers. Like, what do I do next with marketing? Do I hire that guy? Do I fire that guy? Do I build this funnel? But it's like, what we realize matters most, and where we went wrong early on, is we didn't plant the seed that they're also paying us to transform themselves. And so we ran into issues where we felt like we couldn't give someone personal development coaching because they didn't see us as that. They saw us as a marketing and sales expert. And so we actually had an issue calling the CEO out on blind spots that they had because we weren't getting paid for that. And so I think it's really important, like you're saying, to work that into your curriculum and plant the seed of like, you're paying us for coaching, we're transforming you first and then empowering you with the information to move forward.
They'll make more money. I mean, I've done client work for 6 years now, and one of the most significant transformations was in that that first big community that I launched that got to $1 million a month. The founder, he was inundated with news headlines every day on the stock market because it was required for his job. He would make content around it. And yes, it'd be exciting, but to start to have other people's, like consult for other people and have news, what was his new grounding element is whenever I suggested that he do meditation, like 5-minute meditation, 10-minute meditation. And so we started doing that and integrating prayer into his meditation. And a lot of things started to change for him in a really good way. He was able to manage the stress so much better. And this was during COVID. So there was like the stress of business plus disease plus societal, like it's just all that stuff. You have to, for the guys that are putting out fires as a CEO, you got to help them. Because if your coaching program, like you're coaching a bunch of CEOs, little mini CEOs.
Right.
So you got to give them tools so they can use their executive function.
Right.
Instead of just getting overwhelmed and it being impaired and not doing what they need to do.
Right. Yeah, I mean, in leadership positions, you're going to build steam and you're going to build sometimes a lot of emotion that's kept in, and you got to have a way to blow off steam. Like, that's why we do things like this. We start some of our masterminds with breath work, and it's to get everyone in a state of actually blowing off the steam or whatever it is and being present, grounded, and absorbing everything to the best of the ability. I have a serious question for you, though. What was it that you feel like got you so obsessed with wanting to master community building? Why do you see that as the future, and why do you go down this road of really wanting to learn how to bring people together and transform lives?
Well, my early experiences within the business world, a lot of the transformation was a result of me working with groups of people. Even before I got my first paying client, I was working with student organizations, and we would do projects with each other, and we would do speaking engagements on different topics, and we would share. There'd be knowledge sharing throughout. So I was able to break through, my own personal development barriers and fear of speaking and all that. Recently, it's because, like what was said today at your mastermind, you never know who the person you're in front of also knows. And over the past year, I've seen that I've developed relationships online digitally, never met people in person. Yet because we have a shared community, we're a part of shared communities. If I go to a city, I can meet somebody within that community and we have a common subject to talk about, and there's just immediate trust because nobody that they are locally surrounded with is interested in in the similar topic, such as like marketing, entrepreneurship. And I mean, out here in Medellin, you got tons of people who are into that. But like, I'm talking, if you ever go to Oklahoma, right? Where I'm from, Stillwater, Oklahoma, 50,000 people. I actually met two people that were connected from a online community.
Right.
That one of the guys I mentored, he runs an online community. It's on becoming a sales professional, and I met two of these cats.
Right. I think that's important. I mean, we live in a world now where never before could you get connected to someone all the way across the world, become best friends, become business partners, change the world, and you haven't ever even shook their hand in person. And it's funny because it's like we were connected in the digital world through my brother, through experiences you've had with other communities, and we never even knew each other. But we actually met at a cigar lounge through mutual friends.
Mm-hmm.
I had no idea you were there. I didn't know half the people in that circle. I just knew one person who invited me, and then I ended up meeting 5 or 10 different high-level entrepreneurs. And then it turns out one of them had a relationship with someone from my family. So it's like there's instant trust, there's instant rapport, and that's why it's so important to be involved in communities, but also give back to communities, because you never know, like you said, who the other person knows.
You can also get sauce that the guru that's putting to get the community together. All right. When I say sauce, I mean like source information, really high quality information that would not be shared online. You get that through meeting people in communities.
Right.
Because maybe the guru, like, they don't even know about it, or they're keeping it close to their chest. But if you develop a relationship with either the guru, but more than likely other community members that discover a trade secret,
right?
If it's just between you two, I mean, you could be the first to use that, and then that's where you make your
well, you got to look at. I mean, even the whole idea behind Skool Games, it's crowdsourcing information. I mean, prior in Hermosi's gym launch days, like they had a full-blown coaching program with a portal of information with all the templates and scripts. But look at the way the industry's moving. Look at Skool Games. When you sign up for Skool Games, there's 5 or 6 videos that's just like, here's the lay of the land. And the whole idea is the people inside of this community are going to help each other and share what's working. And you learn by doing, and you learn by sharing. You don't learn by sitting here and watching another million videos, right? And so it's so cool to see, like, it's very simple. You study where people are moving, and you ask yourself, why are they going in that direction? And when we see Sam Ovens, one of the most original people in the space, Alex Hermosi, one of the most respected and hot topics right now in the space as well, it's like they're moving in the really big emphasis on community, investing into community far more than information. I think it's now more than ever that you understand, like, it's the people that you're bringing in that matter more than the information. Because I'm sure you've seen, like, I've paid for communities that I never watched a single video for. but I pay and I keep paying because I like just being around those people. And so it's cool because sometimes even if someone doesn't show up and watch your program and implement, they may still continue to pay because they know the community is valuable and they want that accountability. They know they want to transform their life, but they're going through their own process. But it's valuable because there's people there rather than just information. And so I really like that. I mean, hats off to you, like going all in on community, winning school games. I think that's very, very, very cool. It's exciting to see where this goes next. With that said, if anyone has questions about community building, scaling communities, or you have issues around engagement, or you have issues with churn, or just want to know how to take your business to the next level, if you don't have a community or you do, how do people get connected with you? Where do they find more info about you?
Yep. So you can email me. It's blake@black.com there, or through Instagram. If you don't want to end up in my request folder, comment on one of the photos I got.
Hell yeah.
I've been getting a lot of DMs lately. So those are the those two ways.
Awesome. I appreciate it. Is there anything else you want to share with people before we tie this off about community building? Any insight, any tips?
Yeah, you definitely don't want to launch without guidance, whether it's from me or some of the other people in the space that are experts at building communities, because how you set the tone from the beginning can dictate a lot of the future engagement. It really can. So you want to make sure you do it right and prepare. Don't just willy-nilly do it, because you may not get as good of results as you want and won't do it again, and you miss out on a great opportunity because you're dissuaded from doing it.
Right. With that said, reputation is what Blake is saying matters most. Make sure you do things right, and when you do so, you can win school games, hopefully, or accomplish really cool things with your community. With that said, man, it's been a pleasure having you on the show. Really excited to see where the journey continues. Guys, it's been a pleasure chatting about communities. If you have any questions, you know where to reach the man. With that said, appreciate you watching this episode, and we hope to see you back for the next one.